Hey guys, Greg with Buy the Bootstraps, btbootstraps.com. Check out the store, check out the social media. Video's probably a little old, or should be considered old, but I went and saw that Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, the new one. And I was going to make a review at the time, but decided not to because everyone and their damn mom was watching the video, making some kind of reaction video or whatever. Now, I wasn't going to make anything for a while until this video came out, I think last week some point in time, and it was an extended deleted scene that had the Joker, or the Joker's character in this Batman movie. So then after watching that, I was like, I think I will put out a video. So my best friend and I, and my wife, we went and saw this movie, the Batman. And my best friend was really hyped up to see the movie. In fact, he had been talking about it for months and months and months and really wanted to go see the movie. I'd seen the trailers for it and I was like, oh, that looks pretty good. Went and saw the movie and enjoyed the movie for what it was. I thought that the tone of the movie was good. The acting of the movie was pretty good. The effects and everything was pretty good. It wasn't over-the-top cartoony. It wasn't this CGI slugfest like you get in some of the Marvel movies. It certainly didn't have that like Avengers, Endgame, Infinity War kind of vibe to it at all. It was a completely different beast. And it was also not even like the Zack Snyder's Justice League movie that just came out. I think that's like the newest version of the DC universe. So it was much more grounded, much more realistic. And I thought it was good. Like overall, I thought the story was really good. There's, I guess at this point, you can't really call it a spoilers video or not because there was a lot of videos that have come out since. But the movie stars basically Robert Pattinson, who's the Batman. It stars Paul Dano, I think his name is, who plays the Riddler. And it's almost like a cross between Seven, Zodiac, Saw, in a way, when it comes to like the character. He's got a raging hate boner for Batman, or for Bruce Wayne, and for all these people within the city because of some tragic backstory about this guy who ultimately doesn't really matter. Because his backstory, in my personal opinion, that's like one of the weakest elements of this movie. Is the fact that this Riddler is a realistic take on the movie. He's certainly no Jim Carrey running around with a cane saying zany stuff like, oh, look at this Batman. It's nothing like that. It's definitely a much more adult and mature theme. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I really don't relate to this character in any way, shape, or form. His whole thing is that he grew up as an orphan. And that there apparently was this slush fund that was created by the Wayne family like 30 years ago. He was supposedly this tragic character that was in the movie. And therefore, he's got this, again, hate boner against the mayor, the commissioner, and a couple other people, to include Bruce Wayne. Not because Bruce Wayne has done anything. No. Because his father supposedly did something. So this for some reason, gives this guy the ability to make the decisions who should live or who should die. And he's trying to do it in this like weird social setting of like, oh, it's justified by him. And that other people on social media that see it, it's justified by them. I didn't buy that aspect of the movie. I actually thought that was probably the weakest element of the movie, was how they tried to incorporate some kind of like deeper meaning and social, like not like social justice, but just social standards in general. I didn't buy it. I didn't understand it. And it's not because it's like, oh, it's over your head. It's like, no, I just thought it was a weak element of the movie. Other than that, it's got the Penguin character in it who doesn't look like the Penguin at all. He actually seems like a modern day kind of mobster gangster. It's got Catwoman in it, who's played by Zoe Kravitz, I believe it is. She does a really good job too. Although she's got a completely different element. She's a thief, yes, but she's working with Batman, and there's a whole backstory about her friend, and she's trying to find information about her, and Batman's using her to get said information. It makes sense in this story. The movie, for the most part, was really good. Like I said, I like the tone of the movie. I like the scenes of the movie. I like the realism of the movie. Up until the final act of the movie. All the way going to the final act, and this is almost a 3-hour movie. So I mean, you're in the theater for a while watching this movie. The movie's moving along. I think it's doing a great job. The pacing's really good. The story's really good. Bruce Wayne is moody, but so is Batman. And it's almost because the characters are not two separate characters. It's the same character. It's just the only difference is at night he puts on the Batman suit, but during the day he's still the same Bruce Wayne, right? He's broken, he's angry, he's pissed. He doesn't quite know what he's doing because it's supposed to be year 2 in his Batman adventure. But they lean heavily into his detective natural ability of being really smart and observant, which I appreciated because I didn't need another slugfest Batman. All right, we've seen that with the Ben Affleck Batman. We've seen that with other Batmans. You know, it was really nice to see them kind of go to the traditional writing of the character as him being like this world's greatest detective. I mean, that was like the tagline for him for a while. He's the world's greatest detective. And in this movie, they actually lean heavily in the fact that he's the world's greatest detective, or at least in Gotham, I should say. And it makes sense. And Gotham, while I'm on it real quick, Gotham, it's its own setting. I mean, it's its own character. The city feels like an actual city. It feels like a piece of shit city. It's definitely a dump, but it feels like an integral part of the story. Like, it wouldn't be the Batman if it wasn't set in Gotham, like in this version of Gotham. So it made, I don't know, I thought it made a lot of sense there. I enjoyed the movie immensely up until the last act. The last act basically has the Riddler character. You know, he's trying to kill the new mayor who's elected. They have all these guys who goes back to the social media thing where he posted this video about how he's going to flood the city and he's going to blow up the bridges and going to create all these holes in this, you know, boundary wall that's protecting, you know, the city, almost like levees. He's going to flood the city. It comes out of nowhere. They had no inclination about what this was prior in any part of the movie. The movie's gone along just great, and had they just had it been like, oh, the Riddler was caught, and here's his plan, that would have been great. But it's like they had to have like this over-the-top finale, and it just did not fit the rest of the pacing. In fact, that was probably the largest disappointment for me when we left the theater. I was like, I really enjoyed everything about that movie except the ending. It just, that third act just comes out of nowhere. It doesn't make sense. There was no prior history about it within the movie. There was no higher plan. There was no evil, you know, ends justify the means kind of like in large story. It just happens, and it happens so abruptly and just out of nowhere. It really does take you out of the movie, and it adds to that really long runtime, which I'm cool with a long movie. I really don't mind a long movie, but when it gets to a point where you actually are like, okay, all right, come on, let's go. It really takes away. You know, it doesn't help it. And I wasn't going to make a movie about it, but there was a cameo at the end of the movie where the Riddler's character is sitting in Arkham Asylum, and he's talking to this guy. There's no name on the door. You don't know who it is, but it's implied that it's the Joker, which, of course, there's a Joker in a Batman movie. It was a bad cameo in the movie. It didn't fit. It just seemed like they shoehorned it in because they have to have the Joker. But then there was this deleted scene that came out where it really, like, they confirmed, like, no, this is the Joker character, and he's talking to Batman, or I should say Batman's going to the Joker and he's asking for assistance on identifying what the motives are of the Riddler. But again, it's one of those kind of shoehorn in their moments where it's like, oh, it's a new Batman character, the new actor, we have to shoehorn the Joker in, he has to be part of this series. I'm so sick and tired of the Joker, personally. I'm so sick and tired of the Joker. You know, we've had so many like iterations of the Joker at this point. I wouldn't mind seeing Batman universe comics, movies, with a different character involved, with a different storyline, with some unique characters that are realistic and grounded. Like, I was telling my buddies, like, I don't want to see a movie with Mr. Freeze. All right, how are you going to bring that to the real, like, to the real world, or a real world, you know, setting? You got a guy who can instantly freeze people. You know, it's just like, I don't want to see Poison Ivy. I don't want to see some bitch who's got, you know, powers to control, you know, weeds and stuff like that. It's like, it's interesting that it might work in a comic book. It's not going to be portrayed very effectively in the movie. Maybe Bane could work out. Scarecrow could work out. Mad Hatter could work out. The guy with the dummy, I forget his name, that could work out. The ventriloquist, I think his name is, or whatever. You know, some of those characters that are not often spoke about, but they're known characters, like they would work out if you want to take a more serious approach. But then again, the Joker. And after watching the deleted scene, I was like, oh God, I really don't want to see another movie with the Joker in it. You know, and I know some people are like, oh, I really want to see it, and that's cool. To each his own. Movie-wise, I thought the movie was really good. Like I said, at least 2/3 of the movie is really good. The last act of the movie kind of gets to a point where you didn't need it. It could have been wrapped up a lot quicker. I think it would have been a more complete story had they not had it. I understand why they had it. I just personally was getting to that point where I didn't care. Certain choices in the character backstories with the Riddler, it didn't really explain too much to me as to why he was doing this, why he felt this overwhelming hatred. I understand where they were going with. I understand what they wanted to do. But for me, it just wasn't a big, I don't know, just didn't do a lot for me in that regards. But the movie overall is really good. And I'd highly recommend it. If you haven't already seen it, you do go see it. And if you want to, buy it on Blu-ray when it comes out, because I'm sure a lot of people have already seen it. I mean, it was #1 in the box office for like 5 weeks or something like that. So, anyway, comment below. Let me know what you guys think. I'll talk to you later.